Welcome to CXO Unplugged. I'm Phil Dobby, and with me is Geraint Davies, who is the COO for Austereo, the Austereo group, which is a radio group. Now you're a blow-in like me. You're with a name like Geraint. You're obviously a POM.
Absolutely, Welsh POM.
A Welsh POM. That's right. We haven't got a derogatory term for the Welsh in Australia, so I'll have to call you a POM. Now the Austereo group comprises the Today network, the Triple M network. There's a bunch of radio stations overseas as well. Is it an expanding business?
We don't do the overseas ones anymore. We consult
Right.
on those. It's always expanding because there's always more listeners to get and more ad revenue to get. So yeah, it never stops expanding.
Right.
And the multi-platform nature now of media and radio in particular means that yeah, we're forever growing the number of platforms that you can listen to or interact with our content.
Right. Now we're in the midst of the global financial crisis. We've been told that advertising has been hit hard across the board, but radio advertising has been hit particularly hard. And yet I look at your the half-year results up to December last year, and revenue's down a bit, but profits are pretty much line ball. So what are you doing right?
I think radio's doing things right as well as Austereo. As a medium, we offer that very, very fast call to action and very, very quick production times and to air times with relatively low costs compared to other media. So when advertisers, agencies and so forth have got that no visibility of what's happening, what they need is that flexibility to react when they can see a negative or a positive reason to market.
Right.
So radio is perfectly positioned to take that very short-term money for very low cost in terms of production. So as an industry, we've positioned ourselves as that type of medium, and we're developing those strengths of interaction very quickly with the mass audience.
Right. Now, do you treat it? I mean, you've got two big brands, I guess, in each capital city. Do you treat them as products the same way as other companies would treat products? Do you look at Today FM, for example, the same way that Kellogg's might look at a box of cornflakes?
Absolutely. They have a target audience profile, they have a brand profile, they have brand imaging. It's absolutely no different to a Cadbury's or a Kellogg's in terms of the way they're taken to market, the way they're positioned musically, and their overall content offering is very much targeted to as any other brand would. Right,
but a box of cornflakes stays like a box of cornflakes for a long time. I guess consumer attitudes change day to day, so you have to be aware of those. It's not the case that you can go and research something and it's going to be the same in a week's time. So how do you keep up, particularly when you're looking at the youth market, which, as we know, is pretty fickle and attitudes change daily?
Yeah, I mean, we run significant research groups, focus groups, online groups, music juries. We listen to our audience. Online is not the only interactive medium. Radio's been interacting with its audience for many years through the phone. So we can gauge very rapidly what's hot and what's not. We now have the benefit of the internet, which allows us to take more in-depth reports and views and blogs and so forth from our listeners and from our non-listeners. We're also interested in those people that don't listen to us. So yeah, we have to react because it's tomorrow's show that's more important than today's, and we're set up to change. But consumers don't change that rapidly. It still takes them a few weeks or months to get around to something new. We just got to introduce them to it or be onto it when they're riding that wave.
Right. Now you're the market leader in every market, I guess, or almost every.
Almost every market, yes.
Right.
Depends what metric you use, I suppose.
Right. Well, you'll probably use the one that tells you you're the market leader in every market. So how important is that to be the number one? Could you, for example, because I guess it's expensive, you've got to pay for the talent that's going to help you to get to number one. And an alternative approach is to say, well, let's be number two, spend less and make more profit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the return on investment it's got to be worthwhile being number one, otherwise don't be number one. And when you've got two brands that are relatively separate in terms of the target audience they're after, it's possible to be number one for both without, in effect, cannibalising yourself. That's one of our issues, is ensuring that we can manage both brands and be number one or number two, but Austereo always being number one. And it is vitally important within any industry to be perceived as a market leader. You get to do things like this, you get to drive media agendas, and you get to have the flexibility to try new things.
Yeah, no, we never talk to number twos. You know, you're right, absolutely right about that. The problem, of course, with being the market leader is you can only go one way, which is down,
which is higher
or higher. That's right. Well, how do you manage that? I mean, is there a danger that if you are the market leader, you become complacent?
And I think that's the danger that we manage. We're never happy with yesterday's show. We're never happy with yesterday's dollars. We're always looking for what the client needs tomorrow as opposed to what we gave them today, whether that be somebody in sales, somebody on-air content, or management in terms of the structure and the investment levels we put into certain things. It's what's relevant for tomorrow rather than how well we did yesterday.
Right. Now, you mentioned online a couple of times. I mean, the radio industry it's a pretty old industry, isn't it? It's been around for decades, and the model has been pretty much the same all the way through. Entertain people, get as many people listening as possible, sell as much advertising. Online presumably is changing that a little bit, or do you think that fundamental model is still going to be around for a long time?
I think the fundamental model is, but radio is that portable medium, always has been, from a transistor through to MP3 players, whatever. However you want to listen to your music, mobile phones. Through age, it's become a multi-platform existence without even trying, to be honest. It's because advertisers and listeners want to listen to radio, whether that be online, on mobile, web-enabled. It doesn't really matter, or a good old transistor, or in your car. We have that medium that people love. And therefore the internet has just been fantastic for Austereo and for radio, because it's allowed us to interact with our audience other than the 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes that they listen to us. They can now really immerse themselves in our content. We've changed the way we even call people who work on air now. They're content directors, content producers, not on-air producers. Because the content that we use on air is then transferred to other platforms.
Right. Now, it is a talent business, managing talent. In any business, managing your staff is a big issue. You have large personalities to contend with, as well as the people who are in sales. I mean, a diverse group of people, I guess, in a business. Is that hard to manage?
I wouldn't say hard to manage. I think we manage it well because we understand it. We have a sort of schizophrenic business, I'd say. You've got a vast proportion of the organisation is delivering creative content that's engaging for consumers and for advertisers. You have another half of the business that's probably the business, knocking on doors, talking to advertisers, running the business. So I think it's a bit like understanding that you are in effect two people, and then managing that cross very, very well in terms of when the business needs to control the content and when the content needs to control the business in terms of driving it forward. So it's just realising that you've got that dichotomy of talent is the first crucial thing, I think, and then managing it. Yeah. If you ignore it, it'll come and bite you, I'm sure.
That's right. The fires will start to erupt.
Exactly.
So for investors, I mean, is Austereo? Do you think they see it as a steady investment because it's a secure play in a relatively traditional industry, or is it still an opportunity for growth?
I think they see us as steady but forward-thinking. Particularly with Austereo's online investment over the years. We're dominating online in terms of not only in Australia but on a world index in terms of the number of listeners that we take across to view our content online. So I think they see us as a solid medium and a solid media player within that medium, and with the opportunity for upside because of our market leader position.
Okay. And are you the oldest person in the business? Where do you rank?
No, I must rank in the top 10%, I think. Yeah, we have a very young workforce, as you would imagine, but very experienced within their sphere of influence. So we've got very, very talented people who've learned their skill very, very quickly, either within Austereo, and usually within Austereo, you know, we have a very loyal workforce within the organisation, and that helps because you can then build on the experience of the past to grow for the future.
No. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Listen, I hope you're not sitting there at your desk with your headphones on, listening to the Doobie Brothers while everyone else is listening to.
No, we have the music pumped throughout the building. You don't have to put headphones on in this station.
No escape from it. Geraint, thanks very much for your time today.
Thanks.